Hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning in and listening and watching us. We are the Real Short Box Live. This is our very special Halloween month stuff that we're going to be doing a lot of spooky, fun things. But I digress. I'm going to do some stuff in the background here really quick to get us set up. While I do that, Kevin's going to give us a nice intro here. So, Kevin, take it away, sir.
All right. Welcome, everyone. Good evening, good morning, wherever you are in these wonderful 24 time zones on planet Earth. It is Shocktober, and this is the Real Short Box Live Show. First, let me introduce the executive producer of Rumble Spoon Productions and the president and CEO. He is a man from the great state of Ohio. He is a man who's Bruce Campbell's #2 fan. He is DC Comics for life. And if you have a problem with it, he might just pop you in the mouth. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for the 2000 Kent State University's Mr. Beefcake. This is the original Dom!
Thank you. Appreciate that.
That is a hell of an intro, man. You're hired for the ring announcement for wrestling. That's awesome.
Thank you, sir. And next, and last but not least, our special guest. He was on the Real Short Box live stream last October. He is a man with great integrity who's also from the great state of Ohio. He is a man who is a wonderful father. He is one of the greatest promoters of professional wrestling in the Midwest United States. Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for our special guest, a talented thespian, a man who is a master of horror pop icon knowledge. He is John Cattoli.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Hell of an intro. Telling you, I think you made half of Ohio mad when you said I'm one of the greatest promoters. Though there's like 4 or 5 guys right now going, man, that's not true. Like they're all a lot of disagreeing going on right now.
Hey, opinions are opinions. Sometimes the subjectivity.
It's true. Opinions are like assholes, right?
That's very true.
And that's
very
true.
And there's a lot of those in indie wrestling. Not the opinion. Well, that and the assholes, both. I'm just saying.
Gotcha.
Hey, it's a rough business, brother. It's a rough business.
Yes, it is.
And of course, I am your humble podcaster, the Grand Master of the Jedi and Vulcan Arts, your Supreme Chancellor, Dr. Kevin. Hello, we are starting this month of October, Shocktober, with a very special episode. We are ranking the best horror films from the 1970s.
Ooh la la. I'm excited about this. I love the progression of us on the screen, too. The way I see it on my end. John's here, Kevin's here, and then I'm here. So we're like a slide scale. My head's touching the top. Kevin's squarely in the middle, and John's a little bit in the bottom. So it's really interesting, just on my end. I'm sure it's fine with the way everybody else sees it. I want to take a quick moment to give a shout-out to your podcast that you do, John. John does a lot of wrestling, and that may or may not be his second or third love. I would say probably your first or second love would be horror films.
Yes.
And in that, you and Alan have created a podcast where you discuss horror films, and that is called The Horror Guys. Am I correct?
Yes,
okay.
Sir.
And that one, how often do you put that out? And where can they find you at with that podcast?
We try to do at least once a week. We've been trying to keep up mainly with everything with Halloween Ends, which has been pretty much a lot. We've been covering that for the past several months.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost weird because it's coming to an end because the movie comes out next week already. So we're getting to that point now.
Yeah.
But every time we say we're done, they put something new out. So we got to come back and talk about it.
Okay.
But you can find us on YouTube. Just search The Horror Guys. You can find us on Spotify, same thing. And give us a watch or give us a listen, man. It's a good time if you like horror movies.
Excellent.
Definitely going to check it out.
Excellent. Good to hear. Yes, definitely check it out if you guys get a chance. I'm going to type the name of the podcast in the chat here so you guys can remember it. It is called The Horror Guys. You can find it on podcast platforms and YouTube. So, really quickly, also, my mom and dad just popped on. Everybody say hi to my mother and father. Hello, Mom and Dad.
Hello, Mama and Papa McKinney.
Thanks for joining. We are, we want to keep this one intimate because we're talking about 70s horror, and this is really where it really starts to take off, I feel. Like, the 70s really kind of gives you the genre of horror, like, hard. Like, punches you with it. So
the 60s kind of started, to be honest with you.
Shut your whore mouth.
What? Come on, man. I am an expert in this, and so is John.
Shut your
John would
mouth.
agree with me.
He's shaking his head. Yes, he's agreeing with me. 70s is where it really takes off, is what I'm saying.
You had so many different elements of horror in the 70s. I'll say that much. Like, you had your exploitation horror, which was like over the edge type of stuff that came out. You had your exorcism and the ghost type films. You had, you know, your slashers and stuff that really kind of picked up too. So and it's like that pretty much in every era, but like the 70s did kind of have that mix of a little bit of everything.
Yeah,
which was crazy.
The modern day, yes, a lot of the modern day stuff kind of mostly started there. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, Sammy's on. Wow. You know, it just takes one time getting her on the show for her actually come back and watch the podcast episode.
Come on, man.
She wasn't watching it. She wasn't watching. We know this. We
busy.
all know this. She wasn't
busy.
Oh, she's not been busy. I know 100%. She's not been busy. She's been doing nothing.
That's not true.
And she should be watching this show because it's amazing.
Have mercy on her, man. She has a life.
Wow. What does that say about us? I don't know, Kevin. We've been doing this every day for, what, 3 years now? 2 years? 3? Something like that? Or every week anyways. What's that say about us?
Well,
yeah, we're ranking 1970s horror. And I agree 100% with John and definitely not with Kevin because he's just fucked and ripped on something. He's taken some type of mind-altering substance. I don't know. It just happens. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So,
you know, if the 70s was a good time for drugs, was it not?
It really, yeah. Drugs really took off too. Horror took off. Drugs took off, and Kevin got right on that from the start. So.
Which is kind of a segue into the first movie in the whole thing.
It really is. We're ranking it. We're doing a top 20 basically on this one. So number 20 on this is not the 80s favorite house, but this is the 1977 Japanese film directed by Nobuhiko Obayashi. Sounds right.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Obayashi. Thank you. I figured I could get it eventually. I'll nail it down. Who created this crazy ass film called House? Now, to give you a little taste of what this is all about, I'm just going to read one of the comments from the from one of the scenes that they had up on YouTube, and a gentleman describes this film perfectly. He says, "This film is truly like a Scooby-Doo cartoon come to life that was filmed by aliens on acid."
That's it. That says it all.
And he ain't wrong. If you even just watch the trailer, just the trailer on this one, it is absolutely bonkers. You have a floating head that's come around that attacks this girl. It's another woman, by the way, that's attacking another woman's head with her head. I don't know. Don't ask me. I couldn't tell you. Here's a little picture of one of the scenes that's now up on the screen. It's just crazy. It's pure insanity. There's a piano that loves to eat people. It loves to eat people. In fact, there's a scene where it basically engulfs a woman and sucks her inside of the piano, and you can see the blood and stuff entering in. It does a lot of that rotoscope that you would see that's famous for the 60s and 70s. At the time, you would get that, kind of a animation drawn into the live action, so you get that nice blended mesh of it. Also, a lot of stop motion animation that took place in this, like the house moving and morphing and things like that. So you get to see that. So it's a quite a bit of variety. So the basic story goes down like this. In an effort to avoid spending time with her father and his creepy new lover, young and gorgeous Kimiko resolves to visit her aunt's remote mansion with 6 of her closest friends. Yes, of course, including the musically inclined Melody and the geeky Professor. Gorgeous arrives at the estate. Yeah, her name is Gorgeous. Arrives at the estate where supernatural events occur almost immediately. A severed head takes flight, household appliances come to life, and a portrait of a cat seems to contain an evil spirit, which then starts to bleed out the mouth and eyes and spit the blood at everybody. There's a lot. There's disembodied fingers that are playing the piano. It's so interestingly poorly done, but in such a good way that you can't be mad at it for what it's done, if that makes sense. Like, it's just, there's really no way to describe it other than for you to watch it. And in that, if you are a friend of horror and a friend of gore, this one is right up your alley, and I would recommend it. And which is why it's just so different. And it is a foreign film. It's not an American release. I thought, what the hell? We'll throw it in at number 20. Put a little spotlight on it so people can also visit this. It's just like there was do you guys remember that Christmas tree one around Christmas time that came out? It was a horror one where all the Christmas trees went batshit crazy and started killing humans.
Really?
Oh, yeah. What was that? Tree Venge, wasn't it?
Yes,
it was
Tree
YouTube,
Venge. Yes,
yeah.
Yes. And I think you could still find it on there, if I recall.
Yeah, I believe it's on there.
That's also can be seen around this time of year, too. Or you could just wait for Christmas, which is what I did, I guess. I was forced to watch it, and it turned out to be pretty fun. I very much enjoyed it, so I appreciate that, Maria. Thank you. But let's see. Sammy says, ooh, I still haven't watched this, but I've heard about it. Oh, okay. Excellent. Okay, so that's number 20 on our book here, on our list.
I have a small question for you. We mentioned House from the 80s, which is a great movie, by the way. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think they took some elements from that one and used it for that? Just from some of the description, like the... in a way, with some of the stuff they did, because there's a lot of crazy stuff in that one too.
Yeah, I don't think that they didn't. No. I'm pretty sure that they did probably take some elements, or at least the idea of, oh man, there's some crazy stuff that takes place in this mansion. Let's write an American version if we can. So sneakily created something very similar, but so different that they couldn't get in trouble. They separated themselves, in other words. I mean, how can you not talk about a mansion that's possessed? 13 Ghosts comes to mind immediately, with something like that. House on Haunted Hill, stuff like that. There's always mansions and Dracula and all that stuff involved with any type of a home. So, yeah, it's very easy to come up with something like that simultaneously also. But, yeah, I think there's an inkling here that they probably did use some of that thought process to create the 80s house, and then parlay that into my favorite, House 2.
Yes, you can't. That's a great movie. Absolutely great movie.
House 2 is the best, man. It's so
good. It is. If you don't love Gramps and the little caterpillar dog, I mean, really, come on. You have to.
Yeah, there's something wrong with you.
Exactly.
My mom says never saw that one, and I don't think I want to. Yeah, Mom, I don't blame you. But I know you saw House 2 and you loved it, so at least something probably good, positive came from that, so there we go.
Yes.
So that's number 20 on the list. Now, number 19 on the list is something absolutely completely different than what you would see come out of number 20. And Kevin, I think you and John probably, I don't know, John, if you know this one super well, but I know Kevin loves this film. Oh, yeah. So I'm going to let Kevin take away number 19 here. Kevin, go for it.
Yes, 1973, The Wicker Man. This is, to me, when I saw this a few years ago, I was like, wow, this is a good movie. I know there's a Nicolas Cage version of the 2006, which I haven't seen yet, but I know people make fun of it. I know there's a scene I've seen that is pretty funny with involving bees or something like that. Mm-hmm. But this classic with Christopher Lee and the gentleman who was on The Equalizer back in the 1980s, the British actor. I can't remember. They will come back to me in a second, but great movie, especially the ending. The twist ending is powerful. It's like, oh my God, oh that sucks. Oh man. Well, I guess that's why they call it The Wicker Man, So it's a very classical movie. I don't want to give anything away. You just have to watch it. it's a slow build, but as it builds, you learn more about what's going on this particular island that this cop gets sent to. He's looking for a missing girl, and he meets these weird villagers. These people are kind of like cultists or something like that. And you learn more about what's the purpose of what they do and their holiday and their festival, and it leads up to a very interesting ending, to say the least. In fact, the girl from Black Widow, Florence Pugh, was in a horror movie that's similar to Wicker Man. It had kind of I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head, but it's kind of a similarity that came out a few years ago. But kind of like the original version of that, but it's very well done.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Jeez, where they're out in the field. Midsummer, right? Midsummer.
There you go.
Something like that. Yeah.
Never seen that one yet. Heard about it.
I was told not to watch it. I'm gonna be honest.
I wish somebody would have told me not to watch Hereditary. Just saying. Wow.
Yeah. I didn't even bother with that one either. I'm not a fan of like gore or really perverse, grotesque things. Like, for example, Slither, the one with that James Gunn directed and wrote. Mm-hmm. That one I was cool with and I was into until like all the people started meshing together into one body, like one form, and I was like, I'm out. This is too much. It's gross. I don't like this. So I couldn't do it. In other words, not my jam.
Edward Woodard, that's the gentleman's name. He played the original McCall in the 80s Equalizer, and he plays one of the main characters in the Wicker Man.
Ultraman Magnus says there was an Equalizer in the 80s? What?
Yep. Yes, that's correct. It came out in the mid to late 80s.
I can hear the theme song in my head right now.
Oh yeah, it's a cool theme song. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool theme song.
Sammy says Midsomner. It's disturbing but so good. We'll just have to say okay.
Yeah.
I believe you.
I feel like after Hereditary, I can't do it. I felt like I needed a complete holy water bath after watching that movie. I don't know. There was something
like a cleanse. You did a complete. What was it?
Yes.
Jim Carrey in Ace Ventura, where you got the steel wool and you're in the shower scrubbing yourself and you're crying.
Exactly how I felt. I felt really dirty and like I can't ever watch it again. I can't do it.
All right. Okay. So Christopher Lee was in this, correct, Kevin? In Wicker Man, and if I'm not wrong here, he was 85 years old at the time when he did this film. Is that correct?
No, I think you're thinking of like Revenge of the Sith or something in Star Wars. He wasn't that old.
Oh, okay. Because to me, he was old his entire career. He was just old.
Really?
Yeah, he was.
Well, in this movie, he was actually 51 years old, so he wasn't that old.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And matter of fact, 1 year after this, he played Scaramanga in The Man with the Golden Gun with Roger Moore.
Ah, yes, I saw that one. That was kind of silly. That one, The Man with the Golden Gun.
It was silly but fun. It's not the best Bond film, but it's a fun. You got
when I went to Thailand, we did. The people there are very proud of any American movie that got filmed there, and that was one of them. That they were like, we went on this boat tour, and they're like, "We're going to take you to the island where The Man with the Golden Gun was filmed." And we're like, oh, okay, cool. So we went there and they're like, here it is. And I was like, man, I don't remember this film well enough to know where I'm at in the film, like where I'm here. Like, I don't know. So see, I believe you.
If it was Die Another Day, you certainly would have remembered.
Because that movie's amazing. Let me just say. The Madonna song, pure fire. Pure fire. And the ice house, the mansion. It's another mansion, John. The ice mansion.
There we go.
Some shit goes down. Yeah, some shit goes down.
That's just. I think that's a thing for any type of movie. There's a mansion, you know it's going to be bad.
Yep.
Just know something bad's going to happen.
Let's talk about number 18 here. So let me change this out here. Number 18. All right. Closing that out. And number 18 is, John, this is one that you were pushing pretty hard for, so we threw this one at number 18. I've never seen it myself, but now I'm interested in it, just looking at the picture from the box that describes it. It looks interesting. So tell us all about number 18, Trilogy of Terror.
I'll be honest, it's been a long time since I've seen this one. I do know that it's an anthology, and I love anthology horror movies. Absolutely love them.
Yeah, me too.
Karen Black plays all three in all three segments, different characters. And I remember the one, and I'm sure you can see him on the box there. I used to call him the Yaya Man, that little creature that was chasing her throughout the movie. And I'll be honest, man, it's been so long, I don't remember the whole premise. Like I said, there are 3 different stories, and she plays in all 3 of them.
Looks like Jobu,
yeah, he does.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does. But he was like, that was one of those things, you saw that and it then creeped you out. And they ended up making one of those. I don't even know if you can still find it. Probably, I'm sure, on eBay somewhere. But they ended up making one of those for sale. And I'm like, I wouldn't want that in my house. I wouldn't do it. I'm pretty good on that. Like, I don't want it to come to life at night.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I remember it being a fun film. I mean, for the 70s, obviously. It was just a different era of film. Like, there were different boundaries you could push then that you couldn't do now, per se. Like, it's gotten a little crazier now in some cases, but back then you just really didn't have. I don't think anybody cared. You could just do whatever you wanted to. Stuff like even like Last House on the Left and stuff. It's a terrible movie. Like, as far as like,
I spit on your grave.
Yeah. Oh man. I don't want to talk about the scene in that. You already know where I'm going.
Oh yeah.
And that's where you kind of get those exploitation type movies and stuff. And like, they even called some of them like the sexploitation type stuff. And like, those movies pushed a lot of boundaries, man, that you couldn't. Oh, we got this. Freddy Krueger nails.
I had an itch. Sorry. Yeah, I got these. They just came in there.
Oh man, that's all right.
Kind of cool, huh?
It's almost like a combination of Freddy Krueger and Edward Scissorhands.
Yeah, kind of like that combination. But if you want to flick somebody off, you can easily do it.
There it is. It almost looks like spider legs too. Like yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Got your hands on like a new Freddy glove there. Oh, and it's taking them away.
Yeah. There we go.
When it turns on you, it attacks you. But if you guys like anthology horror, definitely check out Trilogy of Terror, because it's a good time. And Karen Black plays the hell out of all 3 of those characters. And she's just a great actress.
Karen Black, what has she been in before besides this?
Oh, God. Everything, but most notably what people would probably remember her from recently, not recently, but recently enough, would be House of a Thousand Corpses. She played Mother Firefly. So
okay,
that would be the one that people would probably remember her the most of. But yeah, she was in a lot of stuff over the years.
Okay. Caleb says he needs that for a back scratcher. That wouldn't be a bad idea, dude. Like you could reach your back with that for sure. For sure. I found those on Amazon, by the way. Like, just randomly was like, you ever just have a night where you're like, I'm just gonna search for just stupid shit and see what So I found those, and I was like, this is awesome. So I ordered.
We always call that going down in the rabbit hole, and you just randomly find weird things.
The purchase rabbit, the rabbit purchase hole, or the purchase rabbit hole, or the money pit. Maybe you could describe it as also.
Yes. You forget you ordered it, and then the bill comes, and it's like, wait, when did I do that?
Yeah, exactly. I had a interesting night, and then about 3 weeks later, a whole kit of boxed cacao for brewing arrived with the French press and everything, and I was like, oh shit, I did buy that. So I've been drinking brewed cacao now instead of coffee because I bought it. So there's that. So things happen, but this was intentional this time. Sammy says, by the way, my old neighbor was in one of those stories. He was in Trilogy of Terror 2.
Nice.
That's pretty cool. That's super cool. Okay, so Trilogy of Terror, John recommends. That's number 18. Number 17 is another film. If I recall, it's Cronenberg. Am I right on this one, number 17?
I do believe so, yeah.
Yes, it is. 1975, Shivers.
Number 17 on the list, Shivers. Or The Shivers? Is it Shivers?
I think it's just Shivers.
It's just Shivers? Okay. All right. Let me change that then.
I know, John, I think you've seen it before yourself, right? You said you saw it recently?
Yeah. I think it was like last year. I bought it super cheap, and I saved it for my horror watches when I do it every year. And it's a messed up movie.
What's in that dude's mouth? What's in his mouth?
It's a parasite, shall we say?
Okay. Let me ask you something.
Go ahead.
Didn't Cronenberg also do what was it? He did Naked Lunch. Am I wrong?
Yeah, he did that one.
He did Naked Lunch. Okay.
He also did The Fly.
What's the man's obsession with assholes? Is there a bunch of assholes in this film too, in Shivers, or did he kind of get out of that phase after that?
Well, this is very first film. Interesting.
Well, that doesn't mean anything to me. It could just mean more assholes. I don't know this, Kevin.
I think he's real big into like body horror and stuff.
Yeah.
Like there was a typewriter that was a bug that had an asshole, and I didn't understand. It was this giant asshole at the top of the... And I was like, why are there so many assholes in this film? And I said it out loud, and someone looked at me like... Because I was in the theater watching it, and they looked back like, what's wrong with you? And I was like, look at it. It's a giant asshole.
Thankfully, you haven't seen Society then, because there's an asshole in that one too.
See?
Yeah.
And
filled with assholes.
Z have it too?
I'm sure. I'm sure there's assholes in there. This guy, I bet you whatever he has in his mouth has a tiny asshole on it. He probably had to request it. He's like, so when you have this parasite come out, make sure you could see the asshole on it. Like, it's very prevalent.
Now, one thing you'll like about this movie, Donald, the late great Ivan Reitman produced the movie.
Yeah.
Since it's, a fellow Canadian,
okay.
Reitman. And also, this movie had multiple titles. Originally, when they shot it, it was called Orgy of the Blood Parasites. Then it was the Parasite. Then it was the Parasite Murders. Then it was They Came From Within, and then they settled on the title Shivers.
So it's parasites, and people don't know when they have them, and it makes them do horrible things. Am I guessing? I've never seen it.
Well, have you ever seen Night of the Creeps? Like an
yes.
80s film?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that. You're passing along. So it's kind of like an analogy, kind of like a metaphor for STDs in a way.
Okay.
That's how I can describe it. People, especially if you see the movie towards the end, you'll definitely get that metaphor. Like, oh, it's kind of like that. What's going on here?
Gotcha. Okay.
You know what I'm talking about, John? Especially like those last few minutes.
Yep. Exactly.
So,
I agree with you 100%. It is very much like a Night of the Creeps type of thing. Yeah.
Night of the Creeps I love. We did a double feature where we watched, what was it? It was, it was Fright Night, and then we followed it up with Night of the Creeps. Which,
yes. That's
a
good double feature.
I thought so, but everybody that was watching it was like, why the hell are you showing us this after we got to see that amazing Fright Night? And I was like, oh, shut up. This is also great. So I felt like they kind of messed up. We should have showed them Night of the Creeps first and then ended on Fright Night. But we did it the other way around. I was completely fine with it because I love them both. And there's so much, every time I watch both of them, so much that I forget that I get to re-remember with these films. And it's just, it's a treat to watch stuff like that. I really like it.
Did you ever see the alternate ending of Night of the Creeps?
No.
So
I don't think so.
Tom Atkins' character makes it out of the basement. And, of course, he's full of these, we'll just call them creeps for now. And he goes into the graveyard, and his head explodes. And they all start slithering towards the graves. And then there's a spaceship hovering over the graveyard.
Oh, wait, yes, I did see that.
Yeah.
That's right.
I thought that was super cool, man.
Yeah, I like that too.
The ending we got was good, don't get me wrong, but that was a really cool ending because it set it up perfectly for a sequel, which we never got, unfortunately.
But Fred Decker, that dude never quits. I'm going to be real with you. That guy never quits. So we could eventually see a sequel to Night of the Creeps, and that would be amazing.
Same thing said for Tom Holland, who did Fright Night. That dude, again, he's almost 80 years old. He's still talking about, to this day, trying to get a actual sequel of Fright Night out, like to carry on from the original.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Because I was like, man, I'm all for it because I love Fright Night. I don't like the remake, but I love the original Fright Night. Like, that's just a really well done movie.
I've seen them both. I enjoy them both, honestly, for different reasons. I think the first is better, of course, but I very much, Anton Yelchin's performance, I think he's fantastic. He does a really good nervous dude really well. So I think he was kind of the better nervous dude.
Charlie.
And I think the killer, the actual vampire, what's his name?
The one who played
Sarandon.
in the remake?
Sarandon.
Oh,
no,
Sarandon, yeah.
Yeah, I thought he was the better vampire, the better bad guy, so to speak. And it's a crapshoot for the radio host dude, or the television host. What was his name?
Oh, Peter Vincent, the great vampire.
Peter Vincent, thank you, yeah.
Yeah.
Because you have such these two great actors in this role. You have David Tennant in the remake, and in the original, you had
Roddy McDowall.
Thank you, Roddy McDowall.
Roddy McDowall.
And they both did such a different nuance of a performance. You have one that's like this old school, television night schlock host, and then you have the other one that's like this Chris Angel kind of magician kind of thing, like going for him. So it's really fascinating to see the differences in how they did it. So I thought they did it just differently enough that they both can exist and they could both be fun. But do I want a sequel? Yes. Should I hit up Tom and say, Tom, let's just get it done? Yes.
Get it done.
Yes, please.
I'll talk to him.
That would be awesome.
I barely know the dude, but sure, I'll just randomly just be like, hey, you don't know me or remember me at all. But let's get a sequel.
On it, honestly.
If I threw a little cash into it, I'm sure if he did like a Kickstarter, he could get the money.
Oh,
right? I feel like that's possible. Tom, if you're watching, and in fact, I'm going to recommend that you watch this later. Kickstarter, dude. Kickstarter. Let's get it done. Even if you have to, let's do it in comic book form first, and then that's the perfect segue into film, and then we could do that. I'm all for that too. Let's get this done.
I think he actually did that, or he's in the process of doing it.
He did originally do a Fright Night series, and as Caleb, who's in the audience right now in the chat watching this, he'll attest to, it's not good. But Tom didn't write it, so there's that. Somebody just took the rights of the characters and wrote a story, and it wasn't a great story. But I digress. Yeah, no, we need to get that. Alex,
have you ever been into the Lost Boys comics? You ever get into those at all?
No, I haven't.
I should check it out.
I know that I had heard through that at one point. The big story in that was Grandpa's girlfriend, the Widow Johnson, ended up being like the head vampire, which was a big change from the movie, which I thought was kind of cool. Because it always seemed like there was something weird about her, the way he would talk about her, but you never saw her and stuff. You always went and see her at nighttime and stuff, and it was like, oh, okay. It kind of adds up and makes sense a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
I
clever.
thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, I like that idea. Enrique popped in late, no problem. Enrique, Ultraman Magnus, The Stuff, if you didn't read that from Kevin, is the name of the film with the white creamy thing that kills people.
Yes.
Popfly Pop Shop, thanks for joining. Alex, thanks for joining, sir. Good to see you. Scorch, hello, Frank. Good to see you. Always a pleasure to have you in here. There is a Fright Night comic. He's saying there's a Fright Night comic just came out, is what Alex is saying. So I guess...
that's what I
didn't know of.
I don't know if that's Tom's writing or not, but yeah, I did see that he was working on something. It was something
Alex would know this. It's American mythology. Okay, Alex. Alex, do your plug, buddy. Alex actually wrote a comic book for American mythology, a story in one of them. So go ahead and mention that really quick, Alex, if you don't mind. Maria says hello again. Half's Hot Sauce, howdy. Thanks for joining. Always a pleasure to have you on. And since we're talking about you, if you type in the coupon code SHORTBOX, if you go to halfshotsauce.com, type in the coupon code SHORTBOX, you'll save 10... Or actually, no, it's the coupon code Donald Hiccups. You'll save 10% off on your order. So type in the coupon code Donald Hiccups and save 10% off on your order of hot sauce at halfshotsauce.com. Check them out. Really good stuff, guys. Killer Pickle, Trippy Pickle, which is a pickle hot sauce. Main Squeeze, Watermelon Rhubarb. Sugar Rush Peach, which, of course, is a peach hot sauce. So all kinds of fun stuff.
Send John some of that stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, sounds good, man. That pickle hot sauce, that sounds pretty good.
The pickle hot sauce is great, dude. Do you like it hot, or you just like a little heat?
I can go both. Yeah, I don't mind either way. Yeah.
Okay, because they have two versions of it. They have Trippy Pickle, which is good, but mild enough, and then they have Killer Pickle, which is hot. Okay. It's hot.
Okay.
Caleb finally says yes. That Fright Night, the old comic from Now Comics, was horrible. Scary Christmas 3 is what Alex is working on, and I think it's for American mythology.
Oh, awesome.
Popfly Pop Shop says, I'm hoping Jaws is on this list. You probably won't be disappointed. Alex says, and I'm in the new Beware the Witch's Shadow 2, I think. So, cool. Great. That's good. And that'll be coming out to a local comic book shop near you. Probably this month. If not this month, and that's next month. So check them out. Half says, Brian says, for John, for you to hit him up with shipping info, and he will get you a care package.
Oh, awesome.
So
Appreciate
he'll
that.
hook you up. That's very nice of you.
That's very nice of him.
Appreciate
All right.
that very much.
So Shivers, we're going to move on from Shivers. And I'm going to bring up
16.
number 16, our next one here.
I haven't seen this movie in a long time. Have you seen it recently, John?
Been a couple years. The funniest thing about this was I had met, I guess we should the name of the movie, The Hills Have Eyes. Michael Berryman being pretty much the lead actor, we'll say, in that movie. I met him years ago at a convention. I never knew that he actually looked like that in real life, though. I thought it was makeup. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Oh no.
So I walk into this convention for, probably like my first one. And he's the first person sitting at the door, and he's like, "Good morning," and he's got this big smile on his face, and I was like, "Holy shit, that's his!" I didn't know it. Of course, I didn't say it to him, but I was like,
That's his real face.
like, holy shit,
It's kind of like Maniac Cop, same thing. Robert Sedar's, that face.
Yeah,
that
with the big
thing.
jaw, yeah.
Yep.
Dude, but like, he was one of the nicest people I'd ever been around. He would stand there and just talk to you for it seemed like for forever. Very, very super nice person. I had met him several times after that. Just always very nice to talk to you. Like after he did Devil's Rejects and stuff, just always a super nice guy. But my first initial, seeing him, I was like, oh shit, like man, I thought Wes Craven did a hell of a makeup job, and it wasn't one. It was a real person. But yeah, that's another one that kind of pushed the boundaries a little bit. For its time, obviously in the 70s, again, we said that they really didn't seem to have as many boundaries as you would nowadays, because you get in trouble for pretty much anything you do.
Yeah,
so
this would get you in trouble because you might think like you're making fun of people who have a certain look or live in a certain part of the country.
Right, exactly. From what I remember off the top of my head, you had this family that was going on a camping trip, and they had their little RV, and then they ended up being stranded. And while they were there, you got this other family that lived in like the caves and all this, and they're very, very Jason-esque without the mask looking, I guess, especially Michael Berryman's character. And they had like the greatest names, like Pluto, and there was Papa Jupe and all that. Like they had these really weird names, But they were super smart. They would communicate through walkie-talkies and stuff, and they were watching this family the entire time. So at one point they go in and they start to kind of take whatever they want out of there, including the women and stuff too, and then the baby. And the scene with the dad was pretty rough, man. That was a rough scene. Do we want to talk about it? This movie's been out for so long. Like, do you want to spoil it if you haven't seen it, or?
Well, see, it's been out 45 years now. It's up to you.
I think we're okay. Yeah.
They basically set the dad on fire. He's up on we'll say not really a cross, but like a pole, and they got him tied up there, and they set the man on fire. And if I remember right, it was wasn't that Ted Levine that played that role?
That sounds right.
Yeah. So he's got that distinctive voice too that you remember him as, obviously. But oh man, that was a hell of a scene. That was something to see.
It's disturbing.
Very much so, man. And there was I don't like to say it, but there was that hint of rape in the movie and stuff. So like I said, there was a lot of stuff that they pushed the boundaries on. But Wes Craven did that with Last House on the Left too.
Exactly.
So I mean, again, he was kind of known for that type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But the movie's actually good. I liked it. Now, if you watch the sequel, it's like watching Friday the 13th, because literally the music is Friday the 13th music, and it's just off the wall, nowhere near as good as the original.
By the way, who was in a fight? The Texas Chainsaw Massacre family, or these mutant family from The Hills Have Eyes? Who wins in a fight?
That's a tough one. I feel like you kind of got your Hills Have Eyes clan, we'll call them. They were smart as far as they had that communication down. You got your hitchhiker, Edwin Neal, of course, who was in there, and he was kind of just wacky. You give him a razor, though, he'll catch you up. Leatherface, if you tell him to shut up, he'll go sit down somewhere. So it's kind of hard to say. I love the character, don't get me wrong. But, and then the cook, as they called him, I don't know if he could fight, so I have to go with The Hills Have Eyes on that one.
I would too.
There's more of them, really, essentially, in a way, too.
True.
Let's see. What do we got? We got some comments here. Let me mention these real quick. Alex says he's going to order some hot sauce tomorrow. Frisky Gringo says huge animal fan. So I guess the dude from Hills Have Eyes is a huge animal fan.
Right. You know what? Oh my God! Speaking of that, there was the dog in the movie too. That was a huge part of the whole thing. And it was funny because in the sequel, the dog actually has a flashback too, which was one of the weirdest things, dude.
Wow.
Like, so they're showing all these flashbacks in part two, and then the dog has a flashback too. It was like, wait a minute, did that
That's
just happen?
kind of
And it
amazing.
did.
I love that.
Yeah, it was funny as hell.
Frisky, which is Caleb, he also says he doesn't have fingernails, but he's so cool he doesn't need them.
And he doesn't.
Interesting.
He has a disease where, and I can't think of the name of it, but he doesn't like sweat either.
Oh no.
No, he doesn't.
Oh,
like
that's
his glands. It's like
super
a glandular thing,
dangerous.
but
Yeah.
yeah, he doesn't sweat or anything. It's like, wow, that's.
By the way,
something,
you want to know the condition? It's called hypohidrotic ectodermal dysplasia.
wow, I couldn't say that once, let alone a couple times.
Yeah.
Dysplasia.
Damn.
Yes.
Yeah, good for you, Kevin. Let's see. Half says, Brian says, if Arby's has sea meat, Jaws is sea horror. Yes, they do have sea meat. You're right. You are right. Alex says, quick heads up, I might have to dip soon. Got to wake up early. No worries, buddy. Frank says, the rape in the original The Hills Have Eyes was much more toned down than it was in the 2006 remake.
I do agree with that. Yeah.
Alex is yelling, spoiler. And Brian
My
says, I'd burn me. Okay. Fair enough. Yeah, we spoiled it for you 45 years later. Oh, we're pieces of shit.
I got his joke too, because that's a joke about Buffalo Bill. So I got it. I got you. I got it. You can't, dude. He played that was a very iconic character, regardless of how messed up it was. You'll never forget Buffalo Bill ever.
Don't worry. We'll begin to that next week, I'm sure.
Speaking of, I got no segue. Let's just talk about number 15. It's a vampire film. It was made for television, if I recall. Came out in 1979. Based on I want to say, Stephen King story. Am I correct on
Correct.
that? Okay. This is Salem's Lot. And, it is number 15 on the list, Salem's Lot. So, anybody want to talk about that one?
Look at those teeth, man. Look at those teeth, John.
Yeah. I called him when I first watched it, because that was one I guess I'm ashamed to say this. I watched that one maybe about a year and a half ago for the first time, and I instantly called him Blue Nosferatu because that's what he looked like to me. It had its moments. I don't think it was the sequel was awful. Shouldn't have happened.
No.
But this one wasn't bad. I mean, the scene where the kid flies to the window was probably the most memorable, creepy scene.
Yes.
And I was watching something where they said they kind of shot that almost. I think it was backwards. They shot it and then sped it up, and they couldn't figure out what he did to make the eyes glow. Like they said, they've tried so long to try to figure out what he did to do that, and they just couldn't do it. And then when the guy's sitting in the room in the chair, and it was just the way the light hit him. It was creepy as hell looking. Somebody had posted a meme one time, and it said like, you wake up at 3 a.m. and think you see like that, and it was a picture of that dude sitting there, but it was like a pile of clothes, and that's what you're really looking at. I'm like, yeah, I could see that. Like, I don't want to look at that at 3 a.m. You know, it's a creepy looking dude, man. I mean, I think it had its purpose. Stephen King, the dude, like, could you imagine getting in his head and just seeing the things that he thinks of?
No.
I mean, we've seen it in his movies, obviously, but man, like, he's got a hell of an imagination, man.
I feel like he has to get them out, or he would have been another Jeffrey Dahmer. Yeah, like he would have murdered people in very horrible ways.
No, you're right, because Tom Savini kind of talked about that, his Vietnam experience. Like when he came back, he had to get into like makeup effects because that's how he was able to deal with all the horrible things he saw in Vietnam.
Well, that's good. You know, to find a coping mechanism like that.
Outlet.
Yeah. Frank says Brad Savage, the boy vampire from Salem's Lot, played one of the 2 Wolverine survivors in Red Dawn.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, go figure. Did not know that. Amy, thanks for joining. Amy says Salem's Lot is awesome, as all King's books movies are. And Janet says, yes, Salem's Lot. She's a fan. I am a fan for what it is, but I don't think it's a very good movie overall. I'm just being honest. Don't hate me. I think there's much better vampire films out there. In fact, we'll have them on the list here as we continue on. Maybe not today, but in the 80s and 90s, I feel like there's some real bangers when it comes to vampire films. So Salem's Lot, does some really good things and has some really creepy moments. I will say that even for the 1970s film Gargoyles, that did not make the list, was another made-for-television horror film about gargoyles that harass this family, basically, and these people in the hills in a desert town. And there's some really creepy moments and some really creepy scenes. And then there are some scenes where it's people in obvious cargo pants with feathers taped to it, running around with silly masks and rubber gloves. So there's that. Yeah. Budgets. That's what happens. So, with a better budget, it could have been a better film. Sure, absolutely.
That's the one that was Bernie Casey's in that, right? They played Ewan Jefferson from Revenge of the Nerds, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is he in that one?
I believe so, yeah.
I thought so.
Yeah. Let's see. Enrique says, someone got mad at me for spoiling Soylent Green. If the movie is over 10 years old, it shouldn't count, especially since Soylent Green is damn near 50 years old. Yeah, I can agree with you there. Alex says, why isn't Janet and company hosting tonight? Because they were forbidden. Now, they're all busy. People were busy, and we wanted to have John on at some point for this month. That was a thing that we talked to him about earlier. And we thought that why not have him come right out of the gate with 70s horror. 80s horror is very fun, and that's next week, by the way. But I feel like 70s makes you think a little more. You have to dig a little more. And once you start going through it, you realize, wow, there's some really good shit here. Yeah.
Good stuff.
So 70s is
80s is going to be tough, though. That's going to be that 80s list. There's so much stuff, man.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of fighting. Could be a lot of fighting.
Yeah.
Over it.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. It's going to be rough. It's going to be a rough battle.
Yeah.
But it'll be worth it. So that's next week is ranking 80s horror films. Let's see. Scorch says... at Enrique, Alex says, put her on. And Enrique says, yay, thank you for agreeing. Okay, so let's move on. That's number 15. Let's go to number 14 on the list. Number 14 is none other than something that I can't find a picture of.
The Amityville Horror.
Yes.
I don't think you... Did you give me a picture of that one, Kevin?
Yeah, it should be there.
Oh, there it is.
Haunted House.
Okay.
Era of the 70s here. One of many.
And what's interesting is this is a real place and a real house that's on Long Island, New York, in Suffolk County. And the house is still there.
Yes. I heard they changed the windows, though. Like, they changed the look of the house. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure that got... Could you imagine all the people that went there? I would love to go just to see it,
It's just... Well, I think when you came out to L.A. last year, you did check out certain spots, famous locations. So, when you have a chance to go to New York, you got to head up Long Island and check it out.
Absolutely.
Also, New Jersey, check out the original Friday the 13th Crystal Lake spot.
Yeah, I actually do want to go there and see that, too. Yeah.
Hey, what's up, Josh? Good to see you, sir.
Hey, Josh. Thanks for joining us, buddy. Tell the bakers you're busy, says Alex. So Amityville Horror. Do we like the original or the remake more?
The original. I go with the original. I mean,
same here.
Kind of that gritty 70s horror. You can't go wrong there. It's just something special about that.
Yeah.
And this is like basically the third film that Margot Kidder was in as far as horror movies were concerned, because she was in another movie that's coming up later in the list. But also, she was in a underrated film I saw a few months ago. And I'm sure, Brother John, you've seen this movie before. You ever seen Sisters?
I haven't. But now I need to now. No, I haven't seen that.
Man, you got to check it out. I saw it a few months ago on HBO Max. And it was one of Brian De Palma's earliest films that he directed. It's good. It's not a long movie, but it's a nice little gritty horror movie from the early 70s. I think it came out in 72 or 73, so about 50 years old.
I will look into that for sure. Because I'll tell you what, Margot Kidder, for being known mainly as Lois Lane, let's be honest, she was good in horror films. She was really good in them. Especially the one we're going to be talking about here in about, 3 movies. Right. That's one of my personal favorites. But I always thought she did a really good job in the horror field, man. I think I would have loved to have seen her do more, honestly.
Yeah.
Also, the real story behind the Amityville Horror, there was a real murder that took place in the house, and then the family that moved in said that apparently there was hauntings and whatnot. Now, hard to say if it was really true or not. Supposedly, it probably was a fake thing, that just a way to get out of their mortgage and whatnot and make money. But
Right.
I don't know. I wasn't there, so I'm not going to judge.
I 100% certainty can tell you that haunted houses do exist, and they will freak you the F out when it happens to you. 100%.
That's why I'm not judging, because if I went through
that's why I don't mess with that stuff. Nope.
That's right. If I went through it, I wouldn't want people to say that I'm faking it. So,
exactly.
That's what it is.
Have you noticed, though, because like the Amityville name itself has kind of become like public domain? Everybody makes an Amityville movie now. They have nothing to do with the movie itself.
Right.
Like Amityville's been in space. Amityville's been in the hood with the leprechaun. Amityville's like, there's an Amityville Thanksgiving movie coming out that has nothing to do with Thanksgiving at all. It's like, damn, dude, you can make Amityville anything, and it just I was looking it up the other day because I was looking to when I do my horror watches, I pulled Amityville 3D the other day, and I typed in Amityville, and like 50 movies popped up. I was like, wow, I just wanted to watch the third one.
Is there like an Amityville Easter Bunny movie too now? Good
honestly, I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised. I saw an Amityville Christmas movie the other day. I was like, what is going on here, man?
Wow. That's a little too much.
Nuts.
Let it go, guys. Let it go. So it's basically a house that's kind of possessed in itself. It is its own being. It could be the devil incarnate. It could be just hell has arisen. It's a gateway, and this house is above that gateway. Those types of things. There's a lot of alluding to things in this film. It is slow. I will say, Frank. Yes, it is. Yeah. It is slow. But it's one of those 70s very slowly paced horrors, which is, I think, if you take the time to go with it and to ingrain yourself in the film, you'll enjoy it more.
Yeah. Once you get to the story, I mean, you feel like, okay, so this house makes this guy, and the original kill his family. It was like 3-something in the morning, wasn't? I can't remember the exact time.
Yeah, but, something like that. Like 3 in the morning.
I mean, the man takes a shotgun and literally goes room to room and kills his entire family and then himself.
Uh-huh.
So it starts to happen now to this family when they move in, and at the same time, he starts to see all these weird things happening in the house and stuff, and it basically possesses him to do the same thing. For me, the first 3 are probably your better ones, and the second one was like completely off the rails. Like that was a little rough. But your first 3 are good ones. After that, not so much.
Yeah.
And also, those old school houses like that, they just have a creepy vibe to them anyway.
Yes.
They really do. They really do. Amy says yes to this every day. A random fly gets in the house. It creeps me out. Alex says he won't go in a horror house. And then he says Amityville sports drama. He can't wait for that. Enrique says...
That's probably out, too.
It probably is. Enrique says, I'm not sensitive to ghosts, but I'm open-minded. I do have family that are sensitive and have seen crazy stuff. Enrique, we have to talk, dude. We have to talk. Scorch says, Laborde House Hotel in Rio Grande, Texas is definitely haunted. I walked into the red room and the temperature dropped. I felt like something was pushing me out. Alex says, Amityville Knights of the Round Table, terrifying. Okay, fair enough.
I feel like it needs to be like Amityville Wrestling now. We need to start that too.
Oh, yeah. That's actually a good name for wrestling. Yeah, I like that.
I like it.
All right, so we're moving on from Amityville Horror to number 13. This one I'm interested in talking about, this one particularly. So let's pop this up. We're talking Suspiria.
First Italian film on the list.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Mr. Dario Argento, if I said his name right?
I believe you did.
Yeah. For me, I saw these ones. This is the first of the Three Mothers trilogy. I think that's Top Pocket, right?
That's correct.
It's very colorful. Like, I think that's where, honestly, if you look at some of the stuff that Rob Zombie does, I think that's where he got his color palette from. Mm-hmm. Because it's a very, very colorful movie. The witch at the end, I was not expecting that part. I'll be honest with you, I was not expecting that. And they got progressively worse as the films went on. But yeah, it's been a really long time since I've seen this. I do remember kind of like was it a ballet school or like a musical school? Something.
Yeah, like a ballet school, yeah.
Yeah, now, I remember that much.
I'm going to be real. I never saw the original from the 70s. I saw the remake. Is it very similar? Does anybody know if it's very similar? Because in the remake, it's about a ballet school that uses the torment of these dancers to feed the souls of these witches that then like helps the devil, I guess, in some way. So it's basically ballet is totally evil and nobody should dance. That's what I got from that. Also, I thought it was extremely clever in the idea that they're sacrificing these young girls' well-being in order to feed this evil entity, this spirit that lives, below. And I thought that was super cool and a really unique idea. And I was hoping that the original had that in it. Because while I like the general concept of the story, I thought it was phenomenal. The story itself, I thought, was lacking severely in the remake. And I was told to watch the original, but I haven't gotten around to it. So that's where I set with that.
Let's talk about something. What's with these creepy ballet movies? You got Black Swan. You got
Yeah,
Suspiria.
man, I'm telling you. You might be honest, but maybe ballet does mean like evil. It's just not a don't do it.
So Maria says they are the same basic overall concept, but the new one is more nasty on the body horror level, in my opinion. Okay. All right, excellent. So
I haven't seen that one yet.
then the story's great either way. So from the 70s, the original Suspiria, I feel like I would love the story just as much as I did in the remake. So I guess definitely check that out. I will, and I think everybody else should as well. Let's see. We got some more comments here. Alex says, ooh, great movie. Goblins, great soundtrack. And then he says the web variant cover for Headless is inspired by Suspiria. Oh, cool. And let's see here. And then some people just commenting with each other. So that's good. So Suspiria, anybody else have anything they want to say else about it before we move on?
Well, the other two movies you want to see, the sequel is Inferno, and the other one was
Mother Tears.
Mother Tears.
Yeah, Mother Tears, yeah.
Mother Tears, there you go.
Okay, we're going to move to 1979 now with a little film with a tall man, a very tall man. That's going to be for number 12 on the list. That's Phantasm.
No, it's not.
What do you guys think of Phantasm? Fans, not fans?
I'm a fan.
It's fun.
I feel like it's one of those movies, again, kind of a slow burn, like we talked about some of the other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not for everybody. You have to kind of really be a fan of that whole series to really kind of understand and get what's going on, because they're messed up movies. They're very
right.
Angus Scrimm, I mean, he just has that look.
Oh, dude, he was perfect for that role. Like, he was the tall man. Nobody else could have played that role. And it was like he looked like he was 11 foot tall in that movie. He wasn't, obviously, but he had like a few lines in the whole movie.
Yeah.
But he was creepy as hell. I mean, he just played that role perfectly.
And of course, the spears with the blades, that's always creepy.
Yes, dude. And the yellow blood. I never understood it, but I thought it was cool as hell, though.
Also, the other thing that freaks me out is that dimension.
Yeah.
That always kind of freaked me out, too. It's kind of like this other world that you transfer into. It's just crazy.
What I like about it, too, is they go on with it. They start to kind of tell you the story about him and, like, how he came about and why he's the way he is. And that was one of the coolest things.
He wasn't always like that.
And then when you got to the very last one, which was basically just like a love letter to all the fans,
mm-hmm.
It told you that whole story, and then it was actually sad. It really was like a sad movie.
Especially before he passed away in real life.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You knew he had already passed away, so you knew that was going to be the last time he was going to play the character. So it was kind of sad to see him in that role, as old as he was, and you knew he was sick at the time. Kind of like seeing Sid Haig 3 from Hell. You knew he was sick at the time. It was great to see him in the movie, but it was a bummer to see him that way.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that to me, I enjoy it. I like the whole series.
Oh, have a good night, Alex. Alex is leaving.
Alex,
sorry about that.
Brother.
Later, man. I thought Phantasm was fun. Like I said, I know people that hate it because I don't think they really understand it. And I know people that love it, So it's one of those type of movies.
Now, I was told to skip the first one, just go to the second one, and I would be able to understand pretty much anything that happened from there. Which I did.
Yeah.
There's some truth to that.
Yeah, I mean...
Because there's kind of a recap in there, if I recall, that kind of tells you everything you need to know. Yep. So I was told just skip it, and I did. I never went and saw the first one. So the first one's, I'm blind to that. But I did see the second, and I think the third, and the fourth, or something like that. Something
Did
along
you like
there.
those ones?
Yeah, they're very, very fun. Very fun. I love the fact that thing won't stop. It just won't stop. It's like another Michael Myers, basically. It just won't stop.
It's true.
And
the coolest part is you got this guy who's taking he runs, long story short, he runs his funeral home.
Mm-hmm.
So he takes these bodies once these people have already had their funerals, and he's turning these bodies into like these little. They kind of look like the things from Spaceballs, the little Ewok looking things from Spaceballs. That's what they kind of look like, But like he's turning them almost to these like little midgets, like to just go into these different dimensions and stuff, and like they go out and they try to kill people and stuff, and it's got some really weird elements to it, but it's fun though.
It's Don Coscarelli, I believe. Coscarelli.
Yeah,
they did it.
Yeah.
He also did one of my favorite horror films.
I know what you're gonna say too.
Yeah, the Bubba Hotep. Yeah,
yes,
say that.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Now a lot of people don't know that one either, but it's so much fun. Dude.
It's a lot of fun. And the more you watch it, I think the more appreciation you get for it. Like when you first watch it, like, oh, that was kind of quirky and silly, but I kind of liked it. And then you watch it again, and you're like, oh man, this is kind of sentimental and sad and really well done. And then you watch it again, and you're like, oh shit, like all these elements are just coming together. Like it's just, he worked with the budget he had to create a solid film, I thought. So I very much enjoyed that. I think if you haven't seen Bubba Hotep, definitely check that out too. But also check out the Phantasm series, which I think has a lot of good things going for it also.
Absolutely. True. And this next film coming up, great classic. All the remakes, just stick to the classic.
Yeah. This is one. Okay, so if I had to take top 3 from 70s, this would be in my top 3. That's how much I love this movie. We're talking about Black Christmas.
Oh yeah,
the original Black Christmas from '74.
So,
right?
Does anybody know like a quick synopsis of Black Christmas?
Basically, it's the classic urban legend of the babysitter and the man upstairs. You probably heard it before. There's someone in the house, and the phone rings. And you find out that you're calling, hey, someone keeps calling, someone, I don't know, someone's creeping me out. You find out, well, the phone calls come from within the house itself. Oh, no.
Oh,
so it has a very similar story almost to like When a Stranger Calls in a way.
A Stranger Calls, yes.
But for me, and if you didn't know this is, I know, Kevin, you probably know, and Donald, you probably know too. But the director of this actually directed another very famous Christmas movie, which is the complete opposite of this, A Christmas Story. Bob Clark.
No shit.
Completely.
No, I didn't know that.
Completely different spectrums of Christmas movies here. But Black Christmas was one of those things where it was technically a slasher, I guess you can call it in a way. But it was very very dark. You never really saw the killer, which was Billy. You saw his eyes in one scene, very, very, very dark, but just like his eyes and maybe this part right here. Margot Kidder played a great drunk in that movie. Like, she was top notch, man. Just an overall really good slasher film where you don't get to see the killer. You really, he calls and says some super obnoxious things that I couldn't even say right now. They blew your mind sometimes. You're like, wait, what? Some pretty nasty stuff,
You got these pretty girls in a sorority house being like, terrorized.
Yeah, and it was a really good cast too. Like, you got some good people in there.
But here's one thing that's illogical about the whole movie, if you think about it logically, right? Why didn't the police explore the whole house, especially
exactly
certain part of the house? You probably
the main spot.
Yeah,
the main spot that you would have said, oh, hey, you know what? We didn't check there, and that's where you would have found your killer, because that's where he was,
And the great John Saxon, he's in the movie too.
Yes. He does do that cop role really well.
Yes,
Nightmare on Elm Street, same thing,
Yep.
And obviously this movie is on the list too, so I don't want to give too much away, but when we get to that point, we'll talk about that too. But Black Christmas was actually an influence to another movie on the list.
It's true.
That we'll be talking about too. So
yeah, Black Christmas is kind of the mother of all slasher films, really. It's kind of given birth to everything that came after it. So it's a very important film for that reason alone.
And it kind of gives you, I forget what year it came out. It's called
74.
Peeping Tom.
Oh, Peeping Tom, sorry.
Did you ever hear that one?
Oh, yeah,
where the guy was kind of filming, but he was killing people at the same time. Mm-hmm. But you got that look through the camera, and you got a couple of those shots in Black Christmas too.
Peeping Tom came out in 1960.
There was another one that came out in the 80s. Is what was it? What is it? Bronson. It was a Bronson film. It was 10 till midnight, I think, is what it was called. And it was about a dude that would take his clothes off and then go murder women. And he was like a naked stabber dude. Like, he would take.
Why do I feel like I've seen that?
I'm sure you have. There's a really famous scene where the kid is in the interrogation room, and Bronson comes in and he's like, "Do you know what this is for?" And it's this almost like hairdryer trigger looking thing, and it's got a big rubber cup thing on the end. And he throws it at the guy, and he's like, "It's for jacking off." And it's like the most iconic.
I feel like I've seen that. It
Stupid
kind of reminds
scene.
you, just because, like, do you remember Fade to Black? Do you remember that one where the kid would dress up in the different like costumes, like the eras of like film and stuff,
No,
and go around killing people? That one came out in the '80s. It was different, but it was fun.
there was also another one kind of similar to that. I guess it was called. I think it was called. I want to say it was Cemetery or yeah. I think it had what's his name in it. He was in Aliens. Game Over, man. Bill Paxton. Bill Paxton was in it. It was one of his earliest roles, where he was in, and I think he worked at a mortuary. Maybe it was called Mortuary instead of Cemetery. I think it might have been called Mortuary.
I know there is one called Mortuary from the '80s.
It was a slasher film about this killer that would go and like kill these women and stuff. Yeah, so it was Mortuary. That's it. Also, another one that's worth checking out too is Mortuary. I think if you get time to watch that, I think that's a good one. But yeah, Black Christmas is iconic. It's classic. It's something that probably everybody should see, and it's not like they're not pulling guts and stuff out, so you're not seeing that. We didn't get to that until I think a little bit later. But so that's what I appreciate about these slasher films is it's just blood and necks being cut.
Did you ever notice a lot of people hate Christmas horror though because they felt like you were messing with like a very religious holiday and stuff, and oh my God,
absolutely
you're making Santa a bad guy,
Well, yeah, that's why an '80s one, Silent Night, Deadly Night, was very controversial.
Yep. Caleb says, what were they thinking with the latest Black Christmas? That was almost a parody. When a Stranger Calls. Dodgers818 says, what up, party people? And Kevin, what up in Chatsworth? And Scorch Frank says, that movie was called 10 to Midnight with Charles Bronson. Yep. That's it.
I'm going to have to watch that now because I feel like I've seen it, but I don't remember it.
That's great. And Maria says, holiday horror is the best. So let's move on quickly. Yeah. We're going to go to number 10. We're not going to spend a lot of time on this one because we already know it very well.
Oh, yeah. Also came out in 1974.
And Darren's in. Hello, Darren, really quickly. And Darren says The Hills Have Eyes was number 16. Alan is going to be pissed. Okay, so it came out in 74, you said, Kevin?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
And that is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yes.
Pretty good year for 1974.
It was.
Chainsaw Massacre. Look at that.
Yeah. Again, if I had to rank my top three, that would be like number 2 for me. I love this one. I love the character itself.
And the original still holds up. If you watch it, if you think about it, the way it's shot, it's very like almost verite documentary style.
Mm-hmm.
So when you watch it, it's like, oh my God, they're really going through this. And just like Donald said, this movie really isn't graphic at all. What's really the thing that's scary about the movie is the terror.
Yeah.
That this woman, especially the last girl, the final girl is going through. It's just that's what freaks you out, especially the shot at close-ups of her eyes and her just sinking deeper and deeper into madness.
It's more of a psychological film, really. It is.
It's psychological horror for real.
You're almost more scared of what you don't see.
Exactly.
Right. And this is directed by the same guy that directed Poltergeist, right? Am I
That's correct. Toby Hooper.
Yeah.
That's correct. Also based on Ed Gein's. Thank you, Josh. Interesting enough, 3 famous horror movies had an Ed Gein's influence: Psycho, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and also I think Silence of the Lambs too, to a lesser extent.
Yeah. Yep. So for its influence, the reason why it is 10, and it's weird that we have Black Christmas just below it when technically I think Black Christmas should be just in front of it. We put it on the list because while it does kind of influence the slasher drama, I feel like it isn't the best slasher drama. So while it influences it greatly, and it is technically one of the first, there's better out there in my opinion. I could be wrong. Obviously opinions are like assholes. But you'll see the list as we go here, and there are some. It's just very diverse. In other words, is what we try.
People are going to beat you up, Donald, for this. They're going to beat you up, man.
Yep, I know. I get it. But they better pack a lunch. They just hit me in the knees and it's all over. How about that?
Oh, man.
I know, right? Okay, number 9 on the list. Since we talked about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, let's talk about George A. Romero. And we're not talking about Dawn of the Dead. No, you thought we were, but we're not. We're talking about a different film. Came out in 73. This one actually inspired a remake, which is also very good, surprisingly. This one's called the Crazies. What'd you guys think of this one?
Big on this, John, from this classic. I think it's like the second movie or third movie ever made after Night of the Living Dead.
I mean, I don't dislike it. It wasn't one of my all-time favorites. I see what they were trying to do with it, obviously. Yeah, but I agree. The remake was decent, though. I will say that. There's a lot of times where it's hard to remake a classic, and sometimes they don't come out so good.
Right.
But the remake was decent, though. I agree. Original, though, it's kind of give or take for me. I won't lie. But it's, I don't hate it, though.
Right. Well, the concept of the Crazies was there's basically something in the water that was causing people that were drinking it and stuff in this town to just lose their goddamn minds and just basically come after each other and try to kill each other. So it was all about... They did a very similar one, Mother and Father, which had Nicolas Cage and... what is her name? I want to say Selma Blair.
Oh, you're talking about the one that came out a few years ago?
Yeah, like in
Mom and Dad, or
Mom and Dad, or Mother and Father. Yeah, Mom and Dad.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what it was called. But very similar because it was like airwaves that were responsible for that. And in this one, it's the water, and it just drives people to go insane. So I like the idea, and I feel like the concept for this was then taken later and kind of put into what if we do have like faster moving, crazier like zombies instead of just like crazy people? What if we combine the two? So really, Romero did do the original slow zombie, and he did the fast zombie too, technically, if you think about it. So he was kind of a pioneer here.
Oh, very sure. Each zombie movie he did, they started to get smarter and smarter and progress and stuff and do things that they shouldn't have been doing.
Yep.
Not anything out of the realm, but like they started to get was it Big Daddy from they called him in Land of the Dead. He was like he was like the smarter one, and like they're blowing off fireworks to to get their attention, and he's like, oh no, I'm good, I'm gonna keep going where I need to go. Like they started to get smarter and stuff, and it was cool to see that because you can see the slow zombie forever. That's the zombie in life that I want to run into, because I don't want to have to like be running from no fast zombie, because I'm gonna get eaten. I'm just saying, it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
You give me those slow ones where you can just walk around and be like, yeah, I'm good, and I can get around you too. Those fast ones though, like the remake Dawn of the Dead zombies, absolutely not. Yeah. I'm not trying to fight those. I'm not doing it.
Nope.
Those are the athletic zombies.
Yeah, nobody wants those track stars. Get the F out of here with that.
You think you're cool. You climbed a fence. You got over. You're like, oh, cool. He just jumps the entire thing. You're like, shit, I'm done. Just give up.
Okay, number 8. Not my favorite movie. I gotta be real with you.
How dare you?
I tried. I rewatched. And each time I rewatch, I'm like, I don't like the music. I'm gonna be real. I hate the music. And I don't like the way it was kind of drawn out, but overall it's still fine. It's just
Sissy Spacek and
it
John
means
Travolta
more to other
slap you.
people, and that's fine. And we're talking about Carrie from 1970s.
Sissy Spacek and John Travolta would slap you, sir.
Right. Yes.
Okay. I don't think either one would hurt.
You know what? This is one of those movies where I understand where Carrie's coming from. I can understand why she snapped and started killing people. I get it.
Yeah.
I mean, she got pushed over the edge from all corners. So you know what? I kind of supported her rage.
You kind of have to.
You kind of have to. I mean, some innocent people got killed, no doubt. But you know what? I get it.
Very true. I mean, she was bullied, obviously, at school. Her mom was a whack job, which she played that role like perfect though. But yeah, I agree with you 100%. Obviously the famous pig's blood scene is obviously your most notable, and that's where she snapped. She had enough, and she set the entire school on fire, basically taking out everybody that was in there, to a point. I thought the ending was kind of cool. I do like the whole hand up out of the grave site type of thing.
And Friday the 13th, you can tell, definitely kind of borrowed from that.
Yeah, that was their, hey man, we needed something, because they didn't have an ending. They're like, we need something big, and then boom, they did what they did, which it worked. It worked.
Did Piper Laurie get like an Academy nomination for her part playing the mom, the crazy
I
mom?
do believe so. Yeah. What sucks about that is horror is never appreciated enough to actually. Yeah, in some cases you do win an award for doing something horror-esque, but it's really not that genre where everybody's like, oh man, this person should have got this for playing that. Horror is always, passed aside because they don't take it as seriously.
Yeah,
but she played the hell out of that character, though. She really did. Like you thought she was legit crazy because she sure as hell played it very well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, who played the FBI agent in it was the Michael J. Fox film. It came out in like 95. It was Peter Jackson directed it.
Oh,
The Frighteners. Yeah. He was the reanimator.
Yeah. Why do I? His name's
Combs? Jeffrey Combs?
Jeffrey Combs, thank you. Yes,
Thank you.
yes. Yeah, I can never remember his name to save my life. Where was I going with this? In The Frighteners, to me, he deserved an Academy Award nomination because his performance was spectacular. I mean, the film didn't even make that much money, which is sad because I think it's a fantastic film. But he barely got any notice, and I was like, oh my god, I was like, this guy's amazing. And I went back and I watched like Reanimator and stuff like that and some of his other work because of that, because I didn't know how great he was. I was so in awe of this guy and his performance. So yeah, horror definitely needs some recognition. So Carrie, we all get, we all understand that one and why she went crazy, and that's why, part of what got her at number 8, I guess, is that. Let's see. Josh says the very end totally got me when I first saw this one. Frank says the most disturbing scene in Carrie to me is when the female PE teacher laughed at Carrie. That bitch deserved to get killed. And Amy says, he's not wrong. And Amy says Carrie is the ultimate version of fuck around and find out.
Yeah, well, yeah. There you go.
Very true, Amy. Very true. Very true.
That's comment of the night for me so far. That was good.
Or even better, you poke the bear a little too hard, the bear is going to bite and tear you to pieces.
So let's go to number 7 on our list. Number 7, very well known, Tales from the Crypt. This is another anthology, if I recall.
Yes, it is.
And this basically kind of spawned the idea of HBO taking it and creating an anthology series out of it for them, which became one of the most fantastic 80s/90s piece of fun that you'll find. It's so good. And the fact that it got made and there were so many celebrities and stars that were in it is fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
It's fantastic.
Everybody was a part of that show. Mm-hmm. Pretty much everybody. What I liked about the original Tales from the Crypt was you got that story with the Santa Claus that escaped from the mental institution and all that, and then they redid that in the first season of Tales from the Crypt, and Larry Drake played the hell out of that Santa.
Oh my God, boy did he ever!
Phenomenal. Oh, dude, he was phenomenal.
Yes, he was.
In my head, I could see it right now when at the very end of it, when the little girl lets him in the house and he just looks at the mom and says, "Naughty." Like you just know, dude. Like that was, you knew she was done. Yeah. She was done.
It's all over.
But I like that because I like that they kept that and took that and brought that into the show when they made it. Mm-hmm. I always thought that was cool. That was always my favorite one out of that whole anthology was the Santa Claus one. But what I like about anthologies too is you have that wraparound story. You have your beginning that kind of starts. Okay, hey, we're gonna lead into this story. And if I remember right, because I will admit it's been a very long time, so if you guys please kind of push me through this one a little bit. If I remember right, they were being told the stories, but it was about their lives though. And these people were in this tomb at the graveyard, right? Or the cemetery, I believe.
I think it was, yeah.
But they had already, at the very end, it revealed that they had already died. And this was pretty much their stories. Is that kind of like the gist of what was going on in that one, I think? Or that's how their lives were going to go, like type of thing?
I think it's open to interpretation in my head, but I think it's because it's been a while for me, too. So I couldn't tell you. Long time. Yeah. It's been a long time.
That's what I kind of gathered from it. What I remember they were being told these stories, but it was the people that were sitting there listening to the story from your guy that was basically your crypt keeper.
Josh is asking, he says, why is there no streaming platform that you can watch the Tales from the Crypt show? I think, doesn't HBO? I don't know I thought HBO Max would have it. Don't they have it?
But then again, it could be a rights issue if they don't have it. You have to check.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. They might, though. That's one I have not looked up to see.
Yeah, my mom just said my sister loves Tales from the Crypt. She does. She has a pinball machine. Oh, wow. It's got the Crypt Keeper with like a little trigger thing, and it's his mouth that you have to push the button with. And it's really cool.
That's awesome.
It's really cool.
That's awesome.
Let's see. Caleb says, and All Through the House by Zemeckis. Bordello of Blood or Demon Knight is what Enrique is asking. It's got to be Demon Knight for me, man. I love them both.
Yeah, same here. Same here.
But Demon Knight was just a better overall film. It was Billy Zane doing his best Michael Keaton Beetlejuice impersonation, and I was there for it.
Yep.
Loved it so much. It's fantastic. Let's see. So let's move on. It is a rights issue, says Josh. Well, that sucks, dude. I'm sorry. You can, although I don't know if it's still the case, but I bought almost every single season at Walmart's on DVD not long ago, and they had the collected volumes. I'm still trying to find one or two of them to piece the whole collection together. But it's you could still get those, and they were like $8 a piece or something, so they were super cheap. So you can't find them. You just have to get the physical media copies of it, which is another case for physical media over streaming. You know.
Very true. I will always be a collector. I mean, streaming's nice, but I want my collection, my physical copy, you know?
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
Number 6. We would be remiss to talk about the 70s horror genre and not mention number 6 on the list, Dawn of the Dead.
And Dario Argento helped co-finance the film, too, with George Romero.
A Pittsburgh classic.
Absolutely.
Yes. One that I am ashamed to say I forgot to mention. Sorry about that.
It's all right. It's all right. I was like, does he have something against this film? Or
no, dude. I listen. I was like going through all the stuff. I'm making the list, and he sends me the official list, and I looked and I went, "How the hell did I forget Dawn of the Dead? How did I do that?"
Yeah.
I was like, I'm ashamed of myself right now. Completely ashamed of myself.
This was all done scientifically, by the way, as we took everybody's input and their rankings and stuff and then categorized it accordingly and then took those rankings and said, okay, this is number 1, this is number 2. Okay, enough people voted for this one, enough people voted for that one. We did all that in our top 20 here as a group here.
What's cool about this movie is the metaphors that are used about consumerism and superficial shopping. So it's kind of funny seeing the zombies going through the mall. It's kind of like they're kind of remembering certain parts of their life. Like, oh yeah, I used to go and shop here.
Yeah, I have a big theory, by the way, not about zombies, but about malls. They're gonna see a large resurgence, and you just wait. Mark my words, because the way the environment's going and it's heating up everywhere, people are going to want to spend less and less time outdoors, and where everything is conveniently placed into one location in an air-conditioned utopia like this mall here, it's going to be more and more appealing, and malls will be back. So just wait. And then we'll have more zombie-like films, and maybe we'll have zombies by then too, because I feel like that's coming.
I thought it was a couple of years ago, honestly. I thought that was the next step.
Well, I didn't think COVID itself was the step. I thought the vaccine was where it would start.
What?
That's true.
Yes,
I heard that
100%. 100% thought in my head. It's probably just watching all this shit, but 100% in my head, I was like, okay, so everybody's going to get vaccinated, and those are going to be the ones. So I waited forever until I got vaccinated. Forever, until I was kind of forced into it, backed into a corner, and then I was like, okay, I'll do it. Just give me the vaccine.
But Donald,
but until then, I was frightened.
What if the later vaccines are the ones that turn you into a zombie?
It's true.
That's also true. Yeah, that is a good point. Kevin, you take all of them first, please. Thank you.
Wow.
Man.
Well, I took a consensus, and everybody said that they agreed that it would be easier to kill you than me. So you should take it first. You just go to the Real Short Box on Facebook in the Facebook chat group.
I'm sure.
Everybody was like, "Yeah, Kevin should die first." So
okay,
there's that. I don't know. I don't make the rules, Kevin. I can't make this up.
I tell you, man. With friends like these, who needs enemies, man?
Darren says malls are dead. You wait, Darren. You wait and see. They're coming back, buddy. They're coming back.
Somebody's got to have someone to go in and turn into a zombie. I mean, damn.
Right. So let's move on from Dawn of the Dead. We all know what that one's about, really. Number 5 on the list is a good one.
Hey, John, I got the best line of the movie for you from this movie from 1976.
Hit him with it.
Daddy, please. No, Daddy, please. Daddy, no. Daddy, no. He's hesitating, thinking about
Dude, right?
Kill this kid.
Dude, listen, I would have, if that was my child and I realized that he was, the spawn of Satan, he's got to go. Like, I'm out. I'm not going to hang out and watch you grow up. I'm leaving.
So you're gonna
go to somebody else's house.
You're gonna break this sweet little demon child's neck. Is basically what you're saying.
Exactly. Like, I'm not gonna feel bad about it. Like, I'm just not gonna feel bad about it. Why did you do it? He's Satan. That's all there is to it. It's because he's Satan.
Now, try to explain that to a jury.
Right, exactly. Like, so he's Satan. Like, look at the little. He's got the numbers right in his head. Just look for it, you know.
I saved the world.
Yeah, so it's basically like you give birth to a child, and that child is the spawn of Satan. So it's basically Satan himself. Yes. And what do you do in that instance as a parent? And what does this child do? We've seen so many. Macaulay Culkin played in The Good Son. Basically, you see it over and over and over again. Yeah. And then there was that one, The Orphan. So and then before that, there's 30 other. This movie. The reason why I don't care for this movie is because it's been overdone so many times, so many goddamn times. I am over the child killer, the evil possessed child trope. I'm done with it. Put it to bed and let's be done with it for a long time.
Would you prefer the possessed elderly person?
Yes, please give me that. Give
90-year-old woman.
Give me grandma that loves to kill. That's fine. She wheels up and stabs you.
I think it came out either late 80s, early 90s, called The Granny, and she did die and then come back and start killing people. So
there we go.
It's actually Stella Stevens, if you remember her. She plays the Granny. So it's a very off-the-wall movie that nobody knows, probably except for me. But it's something.
So
she likes wrestling in the movie too. So.
Oh, well, that's good. We got number 4 up, guys. We have Donald Sutherland going.
that sums up the whole movie right there.
I was watching this a few months ago, like this is the second version actually.
Yeah.
Holds up well. Well done. Very well done. Very well done.
Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Yes.
Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Oh, that makes sense.
Is a bad guy.
Janet says Damien shares my birthday. That makes sense, Janet.
Oh no.
Darren says, I think this film is average. The sequels are painful. I think he's talking about The Omen.
The Omen. Definitely.
Yeah, I agree, Darren. I agree. Scorch says, what did you think of the demon-possessed old lady in The Exorcist 3? I didn't see it. I've never seen The Exorcist 3.
Oh, you've never seen that one?
No.
Oh. It's okay.
You got to see that.
It's so-so. It's all right.
Now, just for one scene alone that you've probably seen on several different, top 100 movie things, that scene alone will get you okay, that was cool. I think you probably know what I'm talking about, Kevin. The one scene, yeah. I don't want to spoil it for you because you haven't seen it, but when you do see it, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about.
All right. Okay. It may have already been spoiled. Somebody said the dog with the human face. So is that it?
That's good too, but
no, that's not it.
From
Okay.
Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Oh, okay.
No, that's Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Okay. That was all right. Okay. Cool. All right. So, everybody like Invasion of the Body Snatchers? Hate it? Love it?
It's great.
I think the general concept of it is fantastic. I love You Don't Know. X-Files did a fantastic episode with that where they were drilling in Antarctica and they pulled out a parasite thing or something and they thawed it out and it got into one of them and then they didn't know who had it. You have The Thing, you have the original, you have all the remakes. That concept still works well because it's a whodunit and who is it and how can we figure it out. It's a mystery. It's a murder mystery enveloped in a horror film, and I love that about it, and I'm here for it. Every time, just take my money. Even the Daniel Craig one I went to see.
And by the way, this is a great cast. Donald Sutherland, Brooke Adams, Jeff Goldblum, Leonard Nimoy, Veronica Cartwright. Great cast. Great film. A lot of fun.
Let's go to number 3 on the list. This one I personally would have put up higher, but I know that in this larger scheme of things, this isn't probably the one that everybody would consider the best. So we're talking about The Exorcist at number 3.
I'll tell you what, though, in a lot of those, this one and the next one above it, which we haven't got there yet, but we will. In a lot of those top 100, top 101 type shows, this always does seem to land with the other one right on top as one of the top 2. Mm-hmm. Always.
And this was the highest grossing movie of all time at one point before the next movie came out and then took it, topped it.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Darren says that he liked the original Invasion of the Body Snatchers more, but the sequel, the remake is on par. He said it's debatable. So there we go.
Does Darren mean the one from the 50s?
I think that's what he's talking about. Yeah, okay. Probably.
Okay.
Let's see. So The Exorcist. Boy, oh boy. I prefer the Leslie Nielsen version, Repossessed, but
Dude, that's great too. Man.
but The Exorcist is also great, and it left a lot of comedy at our doorstep, which I appreciate. The fact that this guy had to like, I think even what was it? James Woods did a version of it too for like Scary Movie or something.
Yeah.
And he had to go in and take a shit, and there was all these flies. It was just stupid. He ends up
Also,
having sex with her. Just
Also,
dumb.
Richard Pryor did a skit on Saturday Night Live in the first season of The Exorcist. Actually, it was like The Exorcist 2, the little skit. It was really
We
funny.
sure did. Yep. I
Okay.
remember seeing that. Yeah.
So it's a great film. It's about possession. It's about this young girl being possessed, about this father and his faith and how he's questioning it. Because why would God allow this child to be possessed and to be a spawn of the demon, of the devil, and be a demon?
And it's based on a true story, but it took place in Maryland, but it was a boy instead of a girl that was possessed by
Okay.
the exorcism.
Frank says, the first time I saw The Exorcist, I was 12. I kept seeing that girl's demonic face in dark rooms for the next 5 years. Jeez, Frank.
Damn.
I bet you wet the bed a lot.
And also, what that little girl did with the crucifix was very controversial. And
Man, yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah.
man.
Wow. Yeah.
What'd she do with it, Kevin?
I
we're not
can't
gonna-
describe that on this,
No.
No, please do. No, go ahead. The audience might not know. I don't even know. I'm clueless to what
I think
happened.
you know. John,
Yeah.
you tell him.
Something she shouldn't have done with it.
She spits on it?
Right.
No, she defiled it in a worse way.
She pooped,
Yeah.
she pooped on it. She pooped.
No.
She pooped on it.
Nope.
She sat on it. She-
Close. Close.
Okay.
Close enough.
All right. I think I'm getting the gist of
Yeah,
it. Okay.
yeah.
All right. Okay.
Kinda like
Yeah.
one of those things where someone tells you to sit on it and spin. Yeah.
Yeah,
Take
that's
that
pretty
and
controversial.
amplify it
Then,
a
yeah.
little bit. Yeah.
Darren says Exorcist is a perfect supernatural horror film. What could be better 70s horror film? I know which one you'll say. Well, knowing John, yes, you will know. And Frank says the girl grabbed the crucifix and yelled, "Let Jesus fudge you."
Yep. That's about it.
Okay.
And she kept saying it. Yep.
Okay. So number 2, this is going to be a controversy. This is our controversial showing here for the evening. We're talking Jaws at number 2
Yeah.
as a horror film. I know.
Oh.
But I would see it more as a thriller. But
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
there's just so many sites that talk about it being a horror film. And then once you kind of boil it down, it is about... Basically, it's very similar to some of these other horror films that we've talked about. This endless pursuit, like Phantasm and another film that's coming, about how it's an unstoppable force that just keeps coming for you, and you don't know how to stop it. You can't figure out how to kill it. Same thing, Jaws.
This is the other one that I was mentioning. When you get to those 100 movies, 101 movies, this is the other one that tops the list. It's between that and The Exorcist. Always tops the list as the top.
This started the blockbuster summer season. It released a movie in the summer was considered not a good idea. This started the whole big summer blockbuster trend.
Yeah, this basically kickstarted Spielberg's career, too, and made his career. If it wasn't for this film, we don't know if we would hear that much about Spielberg, to be honest.
But also let me add to this, because Maria will certainly agree with me on this. Verna Fields, the editor, was the main reason why this movie worked, because the shark couldn't function properly, but her editing skills saved the movie. And that's why there's a building on the Universal lot dedicated to Miss Verna Fields, the Verna Fields building.
Maria says, Jaws is legit scary. There's plenty of grown-ass adults that can't step a toe into the ocean because of that movie. She's not wrong.
She's got a point.
She's not wrong.
That's what me and Alan were just talking similar to something like that the other day. Like The Strangers, okay, being like something that literally they can come knock on my door right now. And that's freaky. That's real life. As opposed to being afraid of Freddy Krueger, who gets you in your dreams. What's going to happen first? Obviously, the stranger's going to come to your door before Freddy Krueger's going to get you in your dreams, right?
Right.
Same thing with Jaws, as opposed to like The Exorcist. You can go into the ocean right now, and you might get ate up by a shark. Or is like your friend's daughter going to get possessed, and you have to send an old priest and a young priest? I'm going to say you're going to go in the ocean first and get ate up by a shark. You know? So like,
whatever's relatable.
Yeah, that real life stuff scares the shit out of you more than something like that, you know?
Yeah, and no, we're not talking about Orca. Although I did have a strong argument for Piranha.
Oh boy, okay,
it did not make it. And that film, if I recall, was directed by the Gremlins director, right?
Joe Dante?
Yeah, wasn't it Joe Dante that directed Piranha?
I think so. I know James Cameron did number 2, and that was his first movie.
Not sure.
You know what,
Might
Kevin?
Look it up.
Kevin's looking it up. Kevin's good at that. He'll find out. So Jaws is number 2.
Yes, Piranha.
See, there we go.
Oh,
Joe Dante with Piranha. Yeah, and you could see some of the elements of Piranha. I really like Piranha for a lot of reasons. I think it's a lot of fun. I think Jaws is a better film, but I think Piranha deserved at least a mention when we're talking about horror films. Specifically, if we're going to talk about 70s horror and we're going to mention Jaws so high up on the list, I feel like Piranha deserves to be in the conversation at least. So there you go, Joe Dante. You're welcome, sir. Let's see. Okay, so that leaves us with number 1. Jeez, we've gone all this time, all this way, guys.
What could it be?
All the way to number 1.
I mean,
and if somebody wants to just hum a quick bar for me. That's right.
It is.
None other than Halloween, number 1 on our list. Why? It says Halloween in the title. That's the only reason why. No other reason.
Oh, no, that can't be the only reason.
Oh, no? Oh, okay.
So again, if I had to pick my top 3, this obviously would be my number 1, the icing on the cake.
Mm-hmm.
And what we mentioned, that Black Christmas was like a segue to Halloween in a way. So John Carpenter took a lot of the slasher element and the way that he shot the film, and just the way he kind of presented Michael Myers himself. You don't really you get this little bit look of Michael towards the end. You see his face for a split second, but he's just this killer. You see him as a kid, kills his sister. Obviously, he goes to an asylum for 15 years under the care of Dr. Loomis. When they go to transfer him, he escapes and he goes back home. When he goes back home, it happens to be Jamie Lee Curtis's Laurie Strode character that drops a key off at his house, and she becomes a target to him. There's no other reason. There's just no other reason. Granted, once the movies go on, they give you a story as to why. But there's no other reason other than this girl went to his house and she became his target, and so did her friends. And he stalks her for the entire night. And essentially,
wearing a Wim Shatner mask too.
Now, have they recently retconned it to where they're not brother and sister anymore?
Yes.
Yeah.
In this new version, they're not related.
Yeah, if you watch the Blumhouse version, David Gordon Green's version, it goes 78, 2018, Halloween Kills, and now the upcoming Halloween Ends. And it kills everything after 78's dead, basically, in the series. So, to me, I always thought they could have carried over part 2 because then that would give more trauma to her life. Let's be honest.
Right.
In 78, okay.
H2O did that. H2O was a carryover, was the true
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Mom's
never seen Halloween. I don't think my dad has either. It's actually pretty solid film.
Wow.
I would recommend it.
It's not gory.
Yeah, I would recommend it. Just it's a nice thriller. It really is. It's scary, but it might be good for Halloween time if you want to check it out.
Dude, by the way, have you ever heard the theory between Loomis and the Psycho movie, that Loomis being the same person?
Yeah.
It's an interesting theory.
That's another movie where I feel like they took a lot from too. Obviously, the name Sam Loomis, but then you go deeper into the series and you look at Halloween H2O. There's Janet Leigh from Psycho, which is obviously Jamie Lee Curtis's mom. Right. And then you got the car from Psycho that she drove, and then you hear the music real faint in the background. So there's a lot of similarities to a lot of that stuff. But yeah, Halloween has its problems. If you watch the one scene where he's going after Nurse Marion and he goes to bust the window, you can see the wrench in his hand. So there's some stuff. There's several scenes where you can see John Carpenter smoke, from him smoking a cigarette, obviously on like in different scenes and stuff.
Sure, it was a cigarette.
Well, that's what they say that,
That's what they say.
Right.
But we know what happened in the 70s. So
if you talk to him, he comes over to the Egyptian theater a lot to do like
nice.
Q&As and stuff. And I remember particularly somebody asked him a very intricate question. He just stopped and he looks and he said, "Man, I don't know. I was high all the time."
I mean, at least he's honest, right?
Yeah. So yeah.
You guys will probably know the name of the camera because I don't. Was it Panaglide or Pana something? The shot where he did like one continuous shot with only that one cut, but he was like the first person.
Was it Steadicam?
They had a name for it. And I honestly
Panavision, Panaglide, Pana something. I think.
I want to say it's Panaglide, but the guy
something.
basically wore the.
Yeah.
Yeah, he like wore the camera and he did that one continuous shot of Michael.
Yeah, he had to have this big like strap thing around him and stuff. Yeah.
And there's like literally only one cut in that whole thing, and he says I heard where it's at, but you can't tell. Like, you literally cannot tell they only did that.
Yeah.
And so many obstacles they had to go through. The house was a mess. So when they did that shot, they only had to shoot certain parts of the house so you couldn't see that it was all tore up. So, I mean, there was a lot of, like, just the cool stuff you learn about that. And again, like Kevin said, there's not a lot of gore. There really isn't. The blood's pretty much non-existent.
Right.
Even when he stabs Lori, there's like a little spot on her arm and you could barely see it. You know, and it's just the music to me becomes a character in the movie too, because that's what freaks you out the most.
Yeah.
You know,
the music in the mask. The music in the mask.
Yeah. Dude, even his breathing, like, you just know he's that ending shot where they're going through the house and you know that he got shot, but his body disappeared. And you could you hear the breathing in the living room shot upstairs, outside. Like, that's just freaky, man.
He disappeared into the middle of the night.
Yeah. And then again, you watch Halloween 2, which is a carryover, even though it came out in 81. It picks up perfect. To me, a lot of people may not agree, but I always thought that was like the perfect sequel. I just thought it was so well done.
Which one?
78, Halloween 2, the original Halloween 2. I always thought it was such a really good sequel. I know it was a different guy to play Michael Myers. He gets a lot of flack for it.
It was more graphic.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, they definitely kind of changed with the times. Probably because like Friday the 13th had come out before that and stuff. So you kind of had to change it up a little bit.
That's exactly why.
I always thought it was a really cool sequel. And I've liked what Blumhouse has done with theirs. I'm kind of waiting to see what's going to happen with Ends. I don't know.
I'm not in on that at all.
No?
I don't like any of them. I think they're terrible.
I don't know, man. Like, if I watch the original, obviously, then you're jumping 40 years later. I get the whole, okay, here he was in the asylum. We get that part. The kind of the story they're telling. I don't know. Like, I've broken it down so many times. I know that's not what we're talking about right now. I know it's 70s stuff. But
right, yeah.
I dig what they're doing with it. Halloween Kills was a little messy in areas.
Yeah.
Especially the logical part when they had him cornered. It's like, why didn't you continue?
Exactly. I thought that's where you kind of go into that myth. What is he? What is Michael Myers? Because, I mean, come on, man. He was shot, stabbed, all kind of stuff. Like, right there in that scene, and he came back. It was like, holy shit, how?
Yeah.
You know, so you're going to have to start to tell that story. But at the same time, you hear him talk about Halloween Ends, and they say when you see Michael Myers for the first time, he's basically went away to basically go rot and die. And it's like, that's not Michael Myers. Like, why? Why would he do that? You know, he took that beating. Yeah, he's probably beat up, I'm sure. But at the same time, why would he just go away to rot? Like, I heard that, and I'm like, well, that doesn't sound right, you know?
No. Scorch has something to say. Frank says, I never understood why Michael Myers was uniquely afflicted with his family's hereditary curse, but no one else in Myers' family had it for thousands of years.
Well, the Curse of Thorn, if you go to that original set, Halloween 6, kind of explains that, but it's still weird. Still strange.
It does get a little messy. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I thought 4 was really good. Like, obviously, you go from 78, you jump now 10 years later, because 3 obviously had nothing to do with Michael Myers. So you jump 10 years later, you find out kind of similar to what they kind of did with the Blumhouse deal. He's been in the hospital for 10 years, or the asylum part of the hospital, whatever you want to call it. He obviously had his eyes shot out in part 2. Not sure how they came back in part 4, but we won't discuss that.
Right, exactly. Right. They healed. He's Wolverine.
Right. They gave him some donor eyes. It's cool. But he was all wrapped up and stuff, and as they're transporting him, well, I don't know why they always want to transport this guy. You should have learned your lesson, obviously.
Right.
He's in the back of the ambulance. He hears the ambulance driver and the nurse talking about his niece that lives in Haddonfield still, and boom.
That triggers him.
Yeah, man, he puts his thumb through the dude's head, and then next thing you know, they find the ambulance all tipped over in the water, and Dr. Loomis is saying, oh, man, I know he's not there. I know where he's going.
How's he still alive, too? How's he still alive? I thought they both got blown up in a fire, but somehow they both just have these scars,
Yeah, I mean, I think, honestly, Loomis became just as tough as Michael Myers in a sense, so you can't kill him either,
who took over for Rob Zombie's version? He had
Malcolm McDowell.
Yes, yeah. I thought he was a fantastic Loomis.
I thought he himself was a good Loomis.
Yes.
But I think the way he was written as a character was kind of shit.
Yes.
I didn't like that.
I would like to have seen him carry over into the more recent versions and them have Loomis there and have him as that aspect and that part of it. I think that'd have been really super cool. But I digress. Darren says, you know how much I love Carpenter, guys. He is a favorite, but I still got to put Halloween at number 2. Halloween is just an awesome visual experience, but Exorcist has more to it. So he's not even mentioning Jaws. He's just Exorcist right, pop right above.
Exorcist over Halloween.
Yep.
Okay. Hey.
And Sammy says yes, it's a classic. And then let's see. We've got some camera things, and they actually only had one camera crew, which is unheard of, says Darren. Caleb says also started the creepy head tilt. It's true.
Yes.
And Frank says, what is the point of making a Halloween Ends movie if Michael Myers cannot be killed? Look, and this is true.
I mean,
if it's popular enough, if this movie makes a shit ton of money, there'll be another. They'll be like, Michael Myers is back, or Son of Myers, or some bullshit. They'll find a way. They always do.
I feel like they said years ago that there was a contract written up between Mustafa Akkad and the people at the time that were like Dimension Films or whoever was in charge of it at the time, that Michael Myers could never be killed. And then Donald Pleasance himself said he wanted there to be 100 movies. I mean, we're at 13 now, so we got a long way to go to 100. But like you said, it's honest. Like, this is the end of Blumhouse's trilogy as far as what they're doing.
Right.
So give it 5 to 10 years, someone else is going to pick it up.
Oh, yeah.
And they're going to just restart it again.
It's just like Godzilla.
2028.
Yeah.
50th anniversary, there'll be another one.
Exactly. You could. They said that there was what's her name? Danielle Harris had pitched something to Malika Akkad, who obviously owns the rights of everything now, about carrying on the Jamie Lloyd character and bringing her back now as a grown up and kind of. So who knows? I mean, you could do it. Obviously, you would just have to just credit part 6. Honestly, that she wasn't even in that. Her character was, but she wasn't.
Right. It was
so you'd have to go.
Jamie, the fake Jamie.
Yeah, you'd have to go 4 or 5 and then jump to whatever they would do now. I mean, it's doable.
And by the way, bring back Paul Rudd too while you're at it.
You know what, dude? They wanted him to come back for Kills, but I guess he was doing Ghostbusters, I think, at the time.
Yeah,
so he wasn't.
Bummer.
Yeah, he wasn't able to do that. Yeah.
That's a bummer.
And he doesn't age. Like, he looks the same.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true. Well, that's going to do it for us, guys. That's number 1 on our list. We're good here. Thank you so much for being on, everybody, and for being a part of this. This is the Real Short Box. We are the Real Short Box. This is 1970s horror rankings. Halloween, as you just saw, was number 1 with a bullet on the list, outclassing and outranking all the rest. Sorry, Darren. But thank you for being a part of this. We do a live podcast show like this pretty much every Monday at 7:30 p.m. Pacific time. Check us out. You can find our past episodes on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and check out Rumble Spoon Productions. It'll all be there, along with our audio podcasts that we put out pretty much every week. All of our audio podcasts can be found on our website, rumblespoon.com. Can also be found on YouTube. Some of the more recent ones can be found on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, Podbean, Blueberry, name it, you'll find us there pretty much everywhere on that. Check out John. John, thanks for being part of this. We appreciate you. And check out his podcast, The Horror Guys, which you can find on YouTube and other podcast platforms as well. They do a very good job with, and they're knee deep in Michael Myers stuff a lot. So if you're like what we just talked about, definitely go give them a like and a follow and give them a listen as well. So again, thank you, John, for being on. We very much appreciate it.
We'll have you back.
Yeah, man. Look forward to it. Always.
And with that, again, of course, Kevin, thank you for being here. And I'm Donald. And if we don't see you out and about anytime soon, perhaps we'll see you
at the macabre, menacing, and sometimes morbid comic book shop.